Were you expecting Kyle to be on here? All right. Our first ever official in-person or virtual meeting. So it is, are we recording? It's Wednesday, May 8th, 2024. The time is 7:00 PM. I call this meeting to order. Roll call. Here, Hendricks. Christensen. Here. Matsubara. Here. She's up there. She's talking.
Can you hear us?
I can barely hear you, but I'm here.
Hmm.
Rachel, I don't think we can hear you.
Here we go.
microphone-
Okay, can you hear me now?
We're doing roll call. You hear?
Rachel's here. Next item is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda tonight? Next item is approval of the consent agenda, the minutes of regular meeting of April 9, 2024, approval of bill list dated May 3, 2024, and payroll ledger dated April 19, 2024, and payroll ledger dated May 3, 2024, consideration of approval to use town-owned property for town cleanup day and the beer festival. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Remora,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Hendricks, Tyne,
Yes.
Yes.
Matsubara.
Yes. Next item is citizen comments. Citizens are asked to limit their comments to 5 minutes. Council will take comments into consideration, but will not make decisions at this time. Council will not engage in back and forth dialogue, but may respond to a speaker with brief factual information or refer the speaker to the town manager to arrange a meeting with an appropriate staff member for discussion of the speaker's topic at an appropriate time. However, the council has no obligation to engage with the speaker by either of the foregoing methods or at all. For these public comments that we received online, are we going to read them into the record? No. Okay, great. Then I'll start at the beginning. I'll start with our sign up sheet. If you don't want to make a comment, you can just tell me no. But I'll start here, and then even if you didn't sign up, you'll still get a chance. Josh Reeks. If you would, come on up to the lectern and state your name and address for the record. No, now's a good time to bring it up because item 5 is a resolution, so there's not going to be a public comment period.
Josh Reeks, what else?
Name
105
and
Village
address.
Place. Yeah. Dylan. So I just had some concerns about the parking program. I live in the core and I only rely on core parking. That's the only way that we can park. And so I guess a little bit of history was the town kind of made an agreement about the core parking many years ago that would provide and share parking with the residents and businesses of the core and certain condos that were built with limited parking. The town has since slowly changed that agreement. First, we were able to park anywhere in the core overnight during the summer. We only had rotating lots in the winter. For the snowplows, the town changed that to all year round. Then they added a fee, making it difficult for us to have visitors spend the night. And now parking is extremely difficult because of events and concerts. And soon it sounds like parking will be charged for the day. I guess my grievance with the current parking setup is no parking during concerts. Sometimes after work, I come home and the closest parking spot is City Market. Or I'm home already and I need to run errands, but if I leave, I probably will have to park at City Market and walk home. This is more difficult as we have 2 kids that are under 3. It would be nice to have like a sign or something that we could put out and save a spot during concerts or events. I've also talked to a few businesses in the core who are negatively affected. Nothing because they don't know how or are too timid and scared. I know places like Dos Chili's and Tacos Tequilas lose most of their business during concerts because customers cannot park anywhere. I've told them to call the town, but they, like I said, they seem a little timid. I know many other businesses also struggle. Some have made their own signs that say no parking except for customers, but it is hard to get people to follow the rules of a laminated or paper sign, and it may not be legal, but the police understand their struggles and seem to ignore it. The fees. I'm sure most of you own a home or condo and don't have to deal with this, but imagine you have a family in town and they visit for the night or Christmas and you put them up in your place because hotels are expensive and hard to get during the holidays, or they came to help you out because you have a newborn in the house. But as they're helping, they now have to pay $20 to $10 a night because of parking. And then I guess some stuff against interstate parking. Interstate parking doesn't really care about emergencies. When we had our first child, we went to the hospital because of COVID. It was difficult for us to leave. Plus, we were a bit busy and preoccupied at the moment. This was before interstate parking, so I called the Dillon Police Department, charge of parking. Time. And told them our situation. And even though it was snowing and the plows had work to do, the police department agreed to not ticket or tow our car because of our situation. Then our second child arrived in the same thing, but with interstate parking. I told them of our situation and the response was, you need to be parked in the right lot or you'll get a ticket. Interstate takes care of a lot of tourist destinations in our area, but they need to realize Dillon is a bit different. There's a good amount of people who rely on parking in the core and have no choice but to park in the core every day. And it would be nice that they are more sympathetic to emergencies or even to someone who gets sick and forgets to move their car or has a long day and accidentally parks their car in the wrong lot once a year. It's annoying to pay parking that was originally free, but then to get a fine at least once a year on top of it. Especially on free parking years ago that came with sympathy and understanding to our situation. Speaking of fines, there have been times our friends have been fined for being at our place till midnight, even though the rules allow that. Interstate acknowledged that they messed up and fixed it, but it's annoying to have to go through and take time to fix something that should have not happened in the first place. I don't know exactly all the new rules, I guess, if they changed a little bit since I read them in the paper, but as I previously mentioned, guests visiting us would have to pay to stay overnight. Now they could have to pay for the day as well. Merry Christmas, welcome to Dillon. Now pay $20 a night and $12 a day to visit your family. But to take care of the kids, $20 a night, $12 a day. Friends come over for 3 or more hours. Well, you better come at 5 p.m. or pay money. I could host, last summer, I would host community games in the park for anyone who wanted to join with their family and friends. Now people would have to arrive after 5 or just move it to Silverthorne because playing games and getting a community together in Silverthorne is free. Also, I just kind of had some questions about parking at the amphitheater, if that was going to be all year round, or if like on Sundays, if it's free for the church or any non-profit that is using the amphitheater. So that's it.
Thanks. Up next, we have Judy Morgan. If you would state your name and address for the record, and then I'll start your 5-minute timer.
Okay, I'm Judy Morgan. I live here in Dillon, Tenderfoot Street, 308 Tenderfoot. Would like to address you as a citizen and as a member of Dillon Community Church in regards to the amphitheater use. As a citizen, historically, I was one of the ones that co-wrote the original $100,000 matching grant for the amphitheater. And back then, we were addressing some of the concerns you guys still address today in terms of trying to get people into Dillon, trying to develop something to put us on the map. And I've watched it develop over the years into such a beautiful venue that's so appreciated by everyone, not just Dillon Community Church. And in general, I think it did solve that as best as it could. The bike path and the amphitheater made us known as a town that had something different than the other towns in the county had. As a member of Dillon Community Church for almost 50 years, we have enjoyed having the privilege of using the amphitheater for Sunday morning services during a low use time, and would ask that you would consider continuing that relationship with the church. It's a community church made up of all different faith backgrounds and is attended by hundreds and hundreds during the summer. In Denver, I am constantly hit with people when they see I'm from Dillon saying, oh, I go to church there when I'm up in the summer. It's really definitely exposed Dillon to people from all over the United States, all over the world, actually, and the front slope especially, in addition to the locals. So I'd like you to take that into consideration too as you look at it. It's a popular venue, not only for the events that you've scheduled during the summer, but also for church on Sunday mornings. One other thing I wanted to bring up, and then I'll be done, is that the town has worked with the Dillon Community Church so beautifully over the years, has had a great partnership. And I think there's been a mutual respect where we respect the town has respected us. We take care of the property, we clean up more than just after us a lot of the time. So would just ask your consideration when you're looking at amphitheater use to continue the relationship you've had with DCC all these years. Thanks.
Thank you. Up next, we had Jude Mitchell. If you would state your name and address for the record, and then I'll start your 5-minute timer.
Hi, I'm Jude Mitchell. I work at Dillon Community Church, so I'm using their address at 371 East Levante. And Judy, actually, thank you, Judy, for expressing some of my concerns. I was impressed by the last town council meeting I was at, and I was just reflecting on the word community, and I think of it as a word that describes a group of people who have different ideals and interests and backgrounds, and but they come together over something in common, and that's the community. Our church is a community church, and we have served actively on our location since the dam was flooded 60 years ago, and for roughly 40 years prior to that time, when we were back in the old town of Dillon before the lake came. So as Judy mentioned, we provide a place for Christian families, non-Christian families. We're very welcoming in our church, and we've always been welcome welcoming at our outdoor services we've hosted for 40 years plus at the Dillon Amphitheater. And the town of Dillon originally approached the leaders of our church all those years ago, asking us to hold our services outdoors in the summers to help attract people into the town. And it was really great for the restaurants. And at that time, we had some really cool shops back in the day in Dillon as well. And they really benefited from worship on the water on Sundays. But I learned at our last meeting that I didn't sense that this group knew much about our church. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about us. We host a lot of community things: Girl Scouts, AA meetings, childbirth classes, community meetings, performances, piano recitals, music classes, student retreats, and even for the last 18 years, a preschool. And the preschool came about after the town of Dillon asked us if we would host the preschool while they were completing construction of the neighboring building, whose name I can never remember, but they put all the condos at the top of it. And at the time, the preschool was in that building. And we were happy to do that. And the preschool ended up in our building for 18 years. And we really cherish that partnership with them. We also gladly have co-hosted, along with our town, holiday festivals, cleanup days, and Memorial Day services. And we have noticed that we've not been invited to partner with the town in the last year or two with at least these last two things. We're kind of not sure why that has happened, if they're unhappy with our service, or if we haven't done it properly, or we're not considered a part of the community. I'm not sure why that's happened. Our food bank does serve the poor, those in the temporary trouble and in seasonal population here. Benevolence Ministry serves local families with everything from rental assistance to medical needs, emergency travel, reconnection to family, workshops, marriage and parenting tools, financial planning, budgeting resources, and family counseling. Family ministries meet many needs of local students and parents, younger and not so young adults. Just wasn't sure if this council knew that that's what this church does. So in other words, we are a church and we're part of this community, and we care about this town, the people in it. We care about our law enforcement servants, care about our fire departments and those who serve in our community. And we attempt to convey that care to them. I just felt like because of the last meeting, there was a lack of knowledge of our church by the town. So I was surprised by that, because our church has been here longer than most of the town residents, and which is good because we're 100 years old. I don't know too many 100-year-old town residents, but we've certainly been here longer than all the town leaders. And it was implied that our use of the amphitheater was, maybe given to us. So I went back to my office and looked at the financial and staff commitment we've made to the amphitheater over the years. So I just wanted to clarify that we are so blessed by it. We're so grateful for use of the amphitheater, but it is a cost to us. And just in the last 2 years, the church has covered over $44,000 in costs to bring a 1-hour service into the amphitheater for 1 hour every Sunday for 12 weeks. And that cost is for professional musicians. We pay the church's fee, the town's fee, whatever they charge us. And it's been $3,000 the last 2 years. We pay professional musicians. We pay we don't pay for cleanup, but we clean up after the Saturday services. Just wanted again to have that perspective. So in case you didn't know, this is what the town does. So, what the church does. So we are grateful for an opportunity to continue with the town, and we hope that you will consider allowing us to continue to use it. We really feel like we're an asset to the community, and we hope that you do too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next I had Vern Morgan. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. And Robert Schmidt. If you would state your name and address for the record, and then I'll start your 5-minute timer.
Awesome. I'm Robert Schmidt. I also work at the church, so I'm going to use that address as well at 371 East Levante. So I am the worship pastor at Dillon Community Church and have been working with the musicians that come in, the sound techs that come in to help us. And I was talking with Jessie about this summer, and depending on how you guys decide, she had told me that there are already 5 Sundays that would be no-goes for the church because of bands that are already booked. And so my question is, in the past, we have been able to use the amphitheater on Sunday mornings. And then it hasn't been a problem when there has been bands on the Sunday evenings, because we have already set up the sound system, the tents, the place is already clean. And then we always, if they need help, we've helped them however we can. And so I bring this up because if it were to be the case that we wouldn't be able to use the amphitheater for 5 of the Sundays out of this summer, it creates too much chaos with the number of people that we have coming from out of town, and even just people that come to our church on a regular basis as to, oh, are we at the amphitheater this week? Oh, no, we're at the church. And it just becomes too chaotic, and it would be probably a showstopper in that respect for us because of the confusion that it would create. So my question in simple is, are these Sunday events, like you guys had Bob Dylan come in last summer or 2 summers ago, and they needed to have access to the stage to set up all this stuff, and we were happy to comply with that, and we We said, sure, you guys use it. We'll meet at the church, and it wasn't a big issue for us. But if it's one of these situations where the show is such that you guys wouldn't start setting up until 2 PM or even, 11:30, then I would ask that you would be able to allow us access to the amphitheater in the morning. So just question, really. Thank you.
Glenn and Jan Miller. If you would state your name and address for the record, and then I'll start your 5-minute timer.
Glenn Miller, 17-year member of Dillon Community Church, so I'll use that address as well. I happen to be a professor at University of Denver. I teach real estate development, and I've worked with towns on many developments. Currently, I'm also a director at Sharing Connection, which works on affordable housing. I think that I believe that Dillon created the amphitheater for the purpose of providing an entertainment venue and bringing people into the city, into the town, I'm sorry. And in that vein, there's been multiple decades of bringing people into town who then also stay, spend money, get to know the town, et cetera. So it's a valuable use of the property for that. Very few other people do anything other than that on a Sunday morning besides hike in the beautiful mountains and do other things. It's tradition that's been around for a long time. I think that the amount of revenue that the church has generated for the town through people using all the businesses that are here and everything else is very, very large. And it would be, a loss to the town if you let this go. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I had for sign ups, but did anyone else want to make a comment here tonight? I would welcome that now. Yeah, please. If you would, please state your name and address for the record, and then I'll start your 5-minute timer.
Hi, I'm Linda Oliver. I'm at 606 Tenderfoot Street in Dillon. I just have a question on the parking with passes. Is it something that as a resident, well, it seems like there was some confusing conflicts when I was going through these 4 pages. And some said 3 for free hours for everybody. Some said is that every day then for 3 hours, or is it a certain part on the weekends? Then there was a pass program that was eligible for residents or people that have maybe a slip at the marina, I think it said. And so just wanting to question that and get a little clarity on it. I know you might not answer it right now, but when it comes to your discussion of how the residents, because there's other parts with one of the other gentlemen brought up, that there's these quarterly fees, and I don't know if that's for like $25 for a quarter. Is that a resident, or is that a business, or is that anybody? I'm not sure. So again, I was reading through this afternoon, and just some of the things were a little questioned on that. And another thing, like for if you have a visitor, so say I'm at my home, I don't have any room for one night for everybody that drove in from Denver or whatever. And on occasion, they will park in a public parking lot, and it hasn't been a problem. However, now is it going to run them $20 to park there for the night to visit? Another thing the gentleman had brought up earlier, I think. So just a couple of questions on that, and clarity would be great before the vote, and appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here to make a comment tonight? Invite those now.
It's a great ringtone.
Yeah, what a gentle ringtone. Is it anybody's phone? Oh, right. Okay. Perfect timing. Anyone else for public comment? Going once? All right. We'll move on to item 5, consideration of resolution number 2124, series of 2024, a resolution revising fees charged for parking in the town-owned parking lots.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Included in your packet is resolution number 21-24, series of 2024. First want to start with, I believe it's Josh. Thanks for your comments. I'm here to provide facts, and we've been getting a lot of comments similar to Josh about some of the parking. So I'm going to try to clear up some of those questions, especially from Josh and Linda, hopefully through this presentation. And we also have representatives from Interstate Parking here as well. And of course, our department heads are here too. But for your consideration tonight is an updated fee resolution for parking fees within the town limits. The program in front of you tonight is very similar to what the town of Frisco is doing with their seasonal managed parking, especially at the Frisco Marina and the Frisco Main Street. And just as a history, just to take a step back, we contracted with Interstate Parking back in November of 2022 to manage the overnight parking system. So the fees related to overnight parking and that quarterly fee is solely for residents and town core businesses. They have the option to pay for their parking on a quarterly basis. That fee is not changing. The fee in your resolution tonight that you're considering, it's $25 per quarter or $100 annually for residents of the town of Dillon, and $75 per quarter or $300 annually for businesses within the town core. So going back and starting from what the new provisions here, this is a piloted seasonal parking program. And the reason that it's piloted is that we were directed by town council back in December of 2023, December 19th, in a work session to try something. So what you have in front of you tonight is the fee resolution that would allow you to try these things. These can also not move forward, or certain sections can change, or however that might be fit. But based on that discussion back in December of 2023, the direction from town council was that Dillon residents, employees of businesses located within the town limits, which would include the town of Dillon employees, marina slip holders, marina patrons, and marina concessionaire patrons will all receive free parking. So how we're handling that, and Interstate Parking can get into the details if you would like that. But we're sending out emails to residences, we're sending them out to business owners, trying to obtain license plates, so those license plates can then be put into the system, and then they can park in various different lots for free, not have to move for the 3-hour parking, etc. The only areas that this is not eligible for would be the amphitheater lot and the parking spots on Lodgepole during paid concerts. So, and I want to be crystal clear that the reserved parking for amphitheater shows is solely for paid concerts. It's not for the free concerts. So it's for the paid concerts. The way that the resolution is written right now is that there's a free 3-hour parking in the town core for anyone. So that is up for your consideration. The overnight parking fee is not going to change. I touched on that. It's $20 a night, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The remaining nights will remain the same at $10 a night. The daily parking fees, which are for the lakefront parking lots, being the marina, amphitheater, and Lodgepole, includes the first 30 minutes free, and then those rates could vary based on the day of the week, holiday, etc. Anywhere between $1.25 and $12 per half hour. That can fluctuate based on the need, supply and demand, and what's going on in town. The event parking fee, I touched on that a little bit. This is up to $50 per event. This is solely for the paid amphitheater shows. I also touched on the resident and core area business parking permits, $25 per quarter, $100 annually for residences or for people who are residents. And then the core area businesses can purchase that at $75 per quarter or $300 annually. Interstate Parking is also selling a $99 season pass for the marina parking lot. This is very similar to what the Frisco Marina is currently doing. And we are anticipating that this program starts May 24th and ends in September 30th. Josh brought up a good point about the overnight parking not rotating during the summer months. We talked about this internally. We are going to be bringing something forward for your consideration to amend the ordinance to allow that to happen, so it would mirror the chain law, to try to allow people like Josh and others to use any lot within the town core for overnight parking. And then some of the other questions that I wrote down. The pass program, anybody can buy the $99 season pass. That's not restricted to anyone. And I think I might have answered the others. But we have received a lot of public comment pertaining to this. People are very concerned about paid parking, specifically in the town core. They feel that, and don't take this the wrong way, they feel that there's a lack of need or desire for that because there's no attraction at the town core right now. Because in their opinion, and I tend to agree with this, there's not currently a parking problem in the town core because you don't have the vibrancy that I think everybody in this room wants with coffee shops, restaurants, etc. To have managed parking in the town core. So we have received a lot of comment, both in person, via phone calls, emails. It's been a mixed bag, but I will say that it's been more public comment than we've received in the past pertaining to parking fees. With that, if any other department head wants to say anything, I know Craig has received a lot of comments from marina slip holders, concessionaires, etc. What we're trying to do is just be overly transparent with you all so you have all the facts before you make a decision.
Sure. Make a few comments. Madam Mayor, Council. I respectfully have been trying to figure out how to word this since I woke up this morning. I'm going to start this way. So through this process, it has been very difficult to remind people of the Dillon Marina community that we serve. This program seems very amphitheater centric, which is great. And in a lot of ways it should be because we have an incredible amphitheater. But I don't want to take up too much of your time. Last fall, I was awarded what's called the Charlie Wilkinson Award. Excuse me. That is from the Colorado Association of Sailing for significant contributions to Colorado sailing, not specifically racing, sailing in general. I accepted that award on behalf of myself. My name's on it, the Dillon Marina in the town of Dillon. It's an incredible honor. It just has felt as though it's very difficult to remind people of what we have going on down there. The Dillon Open this year is going to have just shy of 100 boats. This is more than has been there since easily the late 80s or early 90s. What I'm trying to say is there's been a tremendous amount of effort to shore up the reputation, the service, what we deliver down there at the marina. And that includes not just the rental program, but also the tiki bar and I hate to use the word vibe, but to be quite honest, we've worked very, very hard on that. And if this parking program, in whatever form it takes, becomes an obstacle in the way of the efforts that we've put into it, I would just ask you to consider whether it will or not. One concern I have with paid parking at the marina, that may very well displace people that pregame before an amphitheater show at the Tiki Bar. Well, we take, with that concessionaire agreement, we take 10% of that profit. If people start pre-gaming in other places, that's a loss for us. Basically, I just, in my mind, I think this is a fantastic idea for paid shows. I think it is a good idea for paid shows because I think selfishly and for the marina business, if it would help reserve parking for people that are interfacing with the marina specifically, and that includes the Tiki Bar, that could actually be a very good thing. Otherwise, I can see it actually hurting us and putting a tremendous amount of workload on my staff with regard to daily codes being handed out to people. Trying to figure out overnight parking down there, which we certainly can certainly work it out, whatever we decide. But in my view, I think this should be something that works for paid shows. And otherwise, it should be very limited in its scope. And then once we have an issue in town core, which I hope we do someday, then I think we move forward with additional paid parking throughout the town of Dillon. But it feels as though we're kind of solving a problem that we don't quite have yet. So I say that with all respect, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.
Any other staff have a comment on this or?
I'd be happy to just kind of echo what Craig says. I am actually in favor of the paid ticketed concert parking. I think it will help keep it safer down there. We'll have less cars circling around in the amphitheater lot and on Lodgepole Street. I think it'll actually take a little bit of a burden off of our staff by having the fabulous folks from Interstate down there staffing that area for us. So I'm in favor of that. I think you should maybe consider what the price is of that. What do we think is a fair price for paid parking during paid amphitheater shows? I would just ask the council to consider if we really want to move forward with the 3-hour maximum in the town core. I know it's free, but I do think of days like the farmer's market where turnover might be a good thing on those days, but it also discourages folks from coming to the farmer's market and then going out to lunch or going and enjoying one of our parks or taking a stroll along the lakefront or going to the marina and renting a boat. So maybe consider that as you're considering the 3 hours. And then the same thing for just daily paid parking down at the amphitheater. We are really trying to ramp up this recreation program that we're doing, and a lot of that will be taking place at the amphitheater. It'll be yoga nights on Wednesday nights, dancing nights on Tuesday nights, our free concerts on Monday nights. And I don't want to add any barriers that would discourage folks from coming to those recreation events and free concerts. Even though it's a small number, when you add just $5 to the cost of a yoga class, that might keep someone from coming to it. So I would just ask that you consider that as you make this decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. Scott?
Scott O'Brien, Director of Public Works for the town of Dillon. I'll echo what Craig and Jesse have said regarding the for paid shows. I think that's fine. I think that helps manage that situation. I think that helps manage the safety. In addition to the comments that they've made, I look at it from a parks perspective. So I'm the guy who has spent a lot of time on all of our parks, whether it's the disc golf, whether it's the nature preserve, whether it's the town park out here, and also the marina park. And so if there's not a show going on, I'd very much like to have those parks open and available to the public to use. And I feel like having a half hour free and then a fee for them to use and we want to encourage people to come to our parks, use our playground, to picnic, to visit other things in the town. And I just think that is I think that is a deterrent for people. The park is dedicated and deeded to the people, and I think it should be open for the community to use. Thank you.
Council, any questions or additional information needed?
I have a question. So like if we did away with the 3 hour and then you were just saying that the lodgepole Because I'd like to, John made a comment to me, I'd like to call it managed parking instead of just paid parking. But I think the management for like paid concerts, if you will. So that was, I think you were clarifying that, Nathan, that it would be like managed parking for the concerts, the marina and lodgepole.
That's correct.
And then
Marina,
The
amphitheater,
residents,
lodge.
of course, my heart goes out to residents because they should definitely have parking without having to pay for it. They live in the town core. So that is something that we could maybe agree, because it's still a pilot program to see how it works out with the marina, because we don't make sure the marina people are happy, but managing it, I think promoting it as managed parking, not just paid parking, but so it is safer and, people, easier for people to, with concerts, they want to have their parking up close and all that, but then, the outside of you guys were looking at 3 hour, and I don't think we're ready for that, or we need it either. So I think that's probably, I agree with everyone regarding the 3 hour. But yeah, so am I understanding that right? Just those areas?
Yeah, you're looking at the lakefront parking lots. The reason that the marina is included in that.
Would that be
is
all year
due
or
to the
all
issues
also?
we had last year.
Okay,
With the smaller pilot project, which is the amphitheater lot. That shifted issues into the marina lot, and we're trying to minimize that, so marina patrons can actually use the marina lot for marina functions.
right. So that would help, I would think that would help the marina if it was managed during those, having that be paid for other people other than the marina. The pole dates and all that.
Absolutely. Thursday night, the race series that we have on Thursday night, I think is a prime example, because we typically have a paid show that night too. So having ample parking available for people that are actually out there racing on the lake would be ideal.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood that. Thank you.
I'll throw something in too. I mean, we thought we were throwing the residents a crumb. Did they not hear that they are immune to parking fees? Did they not hear that?
Yes, sorry.
Would it be okay for just, so Shelby and Nathan work with all this, and they've created a whole bunch of programs. Maybe Shelby could just outline everything. I think there's a lot of uncertainty right now.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of miscommunication, and like Linda stated, when I read it too, it was very confusing to me as well.
And we have talked about the 3 hour parking in the court, if everybody decides, oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. If everybody decides, that the 3 hour parking in the core is not the right way to go right now, that's not a problem with us at all. So that's really a decision of the group, so. Shelby, do you want to just? She'll just outline all the programs we've put in place for the community.
Well, they're not in place yet, so let's hold off on that for just a
Okay.
moment.
Okay.
Thanks. John, did you finish up?
Yeah, no, okay. So I'll just say that, my goal was to allow them to manage, mostly for show days, when the lots are full. They radio to each other, and there's someone to tell cars that are seeking spots in a parking lot where there are no spots, you cannot proceed to the left, you have to go this way, and then hopefully recommend, try lot F, recommend them to go to a place where there is an existing spot available. That makes it much more efficient than people going around and around and around. And that's the way it's been, and it doesn't have to be. But the whole program, as far as the Dillon residents, they were always going to be given preferential treatment. Always. So that means all they'd have to do is enter their license tag. If you really are a Dillon resident, enter your license tag, goes in the whitelist, and the guy's enforcing, your license tag comes up as immune to a fee, and they move on to the next car. So if you're all residents here, your guests, that's a different story. But the residents are immune to these parking fees the way I understand it to be, except for premium days. And when there's a paid show, if there's somebody has paid $50 to reserve a spot down there, then Dillon residents have to do that too. They want to park that lot of a stamp theater.
Sean, Dana? Yep.
Yeah, I think it's helpful to remember how we got here because We originally had a problem with overnight parking. We had people sleeping in their cars. We wanted to discourage that, or at least make sure the town is getting compensated for the cleanup required to deal with all that. And then we had amphitheater shows where parking was insufficient. I agree with Craig and Jesse that I don't think we're quite there with the town core at this point. And I think that's a little bit of overreach for where we are at this point. I'd like to see us scrap that part of it. And, just focus on the amphitheater shows.
Like section 2, you mean?
Yeah.
And
And
maybe
also-
in 5?
The overnight parking, I think we need to continue so we don't have a lot of people sleeping in their cars.
So just getting rid of section 2
Yeah, the
and
town
5 in the marinas.
Yeah, the town, yeah, and the marina parking, I think as well.
Kind of any daytime parking is what you're saying.
Yeah,
limiting
just
it.
for shows. I think for shows,
Except
I
for
think
the
it's helpful to have, the interstate parking guys there to help us manage the traffic. I think most of the people that are gonna park there are probably the Denver people that paid, $100 a ticket for the show, so they don't care if they pay $50 for parking. So I don't have a problem with that, and I think that helps address some of our challenges. And same with the overnight parking, but I agree with you guys, we're not quite there with the core. Cross that bridge later when we get there.
Thanks, Tina. Kyle or Rachel, would anyone like to share your thoughts on this?
I'll share. I agree with the staff, and, what Dana just said, that we're not quite there with the core. That's a bit of an overreach, but I do agree with the paid parking for, show days.
Great, thanks, Rachel. Kyle?
Yeah, I don't think we should be charging for daytime parking ever now or in the future. So no daily parking fees, only overnight parking fees. And that would go for concert nights also, just overnights from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. I don't think there should be nightly fees before that. I also don't think there should be paid parking along Lodgepole during concerts. I think that should remain free or a heck of a less than $50. And then I'd also suggest if there's a restaurant that serves alcohol or on concert nights, if anybody needs a ticket validated, they should be able to come to town hall within however many days of getting a ticket to have a ticket validated if they were if they drank too much at a restaurant or at a concert. I think they should be. I think some should be in there about that also, or at the marina, at the tiki bar. That is
Thanks,
all.
Kyle. Okay, thanks. So I've heard some repetition of something along the lines of removing item 2, which is the daily parking fee. So it seems like there's some consensus among the group that the section 1, the overnight parking, is still answering a problem that we see. And that section 3 is still worth exploring, maybe with some changes. So let's consider that daily parking is probably not where we're ready to be right now. So let's think about it without section 2 and move on to section 3 for the event parking. There was some talk about what number is the right number, and which places are appropriate for that. So removing Lodgepole Street, would this work? Would people still be able to be rerouted safely without including Lodgepole Street in the $50 reserved parking and using maybe just the marina and the amphitheater lot?
It would be possible. I think the idea behind adding Lodgepole in was that we could then have interstates help to manage both ends of the street. they could actually be stopping traffic when that fills up because we know it's full and that those cars wouldn't be turning over because they're paying that daily fee. So
Yeah.
the idea was that having interstates help to really manage that area could be very
Versus-
beneficial.
Versus maybe just stopping them right at the intersection where you could divert them down Lodgepole to turn around and get out.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to do is keep people off of Lodgepole, to be honest. We're seeing some of these shows where the line starts at 7 a.m. and by 2, 3 in the afternoon, there's people lined up all the way down Lodgepole. They're walking down the middle of the street. A lot of times there are, band members and shuttle buses and things trying to get backstage too. So lessening the traffic on Lodgepole during those paid events when there is a lot of pedestrian traffic and just semis and other vehicles coming in and out was kind of our idea behind that for safety.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see
And
it in
then-
an amphitheater and Lodgepole.
I'd like to see
Big-
Lodgepole too.
So before this gets too out of control, I'll continue talking because I haven't talked yet and I have some notes here that I'd like to continue going over before we go around to second comments. Okay, so section 3 is, the other thing that came up is the rate, $50. Is that what you think is reasonable? Is that where you're comfortable being? And that's, there
Yeah,
was
I'd-
sort of comments on both sides, so
I'd look to you
$50.
all for direction on that. We did $50 last year in the pilot and it did actually sell. So that is a number we've heard. I've looked at some other amphitheaters around us. The 40 amphitheater charges $20 a night. So we are quite a bit higher than some of the other paid parking I've seen at amphitheater type venues. But it's really up to you all and what you think is reasonable.
Okay. And then moving on to section 4. We had some questions about the resident and core area business parking permits. Nathan, I think you addressed all of these. There was some question about guest passes and how that affects them. When we're talking about paid parking in the town core overnight, let's say on not a paid show night, so let's say there's managed parking for a show, a paid show. So people could potentially, and it says that includes overnight parking. So that would mean you're allowed to overnight park in the marina, the amphitheater lot, and on Lodgepole Street, which right now you're not allowed to do.
No, those would still not be included.
Even though it says if you pay for the $50 managed parking, your overnight fee is included, you have to move your car.
Correct.
You'd have to move it to an overnight lot.
Yeah, historically, those lots have not been overnight parking based on feedback from the community. The condo owners don't want overnight cars parked at the marina in particular. Lodgepole as well. Lodgepole also came up with the event parking. Historically, we've received many complaints from Coeur d'Alene, Timberline, Best Western people, et cetera. And that's why that lot is included in the event parking or managed parking, is to try to control that and minimize those complaints.
So it's a little problematic for me to like, if I were coming in from out of town and I bought a $50 parking ticket and that said, and this covers your overnight fee also because you've paid this $50, because it says that, right? I'm not mistaken on that.
Doesn't, I wonder if we should strike
So
that.
it says that, but then, and so you park your car and you get overserved and then you get a ticket for staying in your parking spot that you think you paid $50 to park overnight in. So that's a problem for me a confusing issue. I guess that's not really the core area though. So they still have to move into the core to use that overnight pass. So I don't think that's I don't think that's quite worked out for me.
Point of
Because
question,
it doesn't make sense to me that we'd have to move.
Were they supposed to, they've paid for the marina lot. Does that mean that if they move to an overnight lot, then they're still good?
Yes.
So the requirement is that they have to move after the show's over to a different lot,
Right.
but it's paid for.
Right. So, and that's not guaranteed to me, like what if, so somebody does that and then everyone else paid for all the spots in town and then they don't have a spot to park in. So we might run into problems there. The marina season parking pass, to me, it seems like if we eliminate item 2, the day parking rate, that we don't need the marina season parking pass. But if you have a different thought on that, maybe we'll just sort of talk it through here. is that parking pass to get you into the marina lot during a paid show when it's otherwise going to be locked up?
No, I do not believe so.
So it would be to cover your daily fee. So instead of having to pay a daily fee. So if we eliminate the daily parking fee, we can eliminate section 5 also. Because you don't need a parking pass if it doesn't get you in during paid parking when that parking lot's otherwise closed off.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Is that going to be explained by the parking people here tonight regarding, because they're going to be managing all that, right?
It can be if you would like that.
So
to
could
be.
could we hear from them?
We're going to finish hearing from me because it's still my turn to talk. And then if we decide to move forward with it, I think then we could explore what they've talked about. But if there are problems in this, we know we want to strike. They don't need to talk about exactly how they're going to figure out daily parking
What if they
if
explain it?
4
to-
people on the council don't want to charge for daily parking. So we don't need to hear about how it's going to work if 4 people already don't think it's a good idea.
We already said we're not going to do the 3-hour parking. We just, I just.
So I'm not talking about the 3-hour parking in the core.
daily
I'm
parking.
talking about charging for daytime parking. And I think both of those. I heard from Dana, Rachel, and Kyle that the 3-hour parking max and the daytime parking were both problematic, and I agree with that. So I think there are 4 people who don't want to pursue either of those things.
I don't think so. I didn't hear, that's
didn't
what I
hear
heard.
that.
They
That's
said
not what I
core.
heard
They said core.
Dana?
They said core parking. I know.
Yeah, town core, I don't want to have daytime parking. The marina, I'm not sure we need it for non-event days.
But to manage it for
That's
the
what I heard
pilot,
you say.
well, that's what I want a clarification for, because that is what's confusing. I think you're directing it to what you
I'm
don't
not.
disagree, but I just wanted to get clarification on what they're talking about. Like, is that what you're talking about? Lodge, pool, amphitheater, and the marina parking would be
That's for the event parking.
for the event parking, right? So we're not talking about day parking. We're talking about the event parking.
Well, at the marina, there's issue of daily.
Okay, so is that?
So I'm
Nathan?
on,
Is that
I'm on
what-
item 5 in the resolution, which directs a daytime parking pass for the marina for the season. And so my question is that for when we're charging for parking? And if we're not doing daily parking, perhaps we don't need the marina parking pass.
I think you're jumping the gun on the daily parking. Some people, I'm okay with not doing core daily parking. I'm not ready to give up lodgepole daily parking, marina daily parking, or amphitheater daily parking. I didn't hear anybody else say they're ready to give that up.
Scott said it, Craig said it.
But
I
they're
think-
they're not getting a vote in this.
I heard from Dana, he says no day
So
parking,
let's
day
take it-
pay
let's
parking.
poll- let's
I
poll
heard-
the council on each.
We did poll the council and I wrote down
Gonna
what
have to re-poll
people,
it.
so we'll poll them when it comes to it. But what I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rachel and Kyle and Dana, but I wrote down here, Dana wrote no day pay. Rachel, I put an arrow to it, I think also said no daytime parking paying. Is that what I heard you say, Rachel?
Can't hear you.
Sorry
And then
about that.
Kyle
Sorry,
said the
yes,
same-
yes.
Okay, so I did. That's what I heard correctly, right? That Rachel and Kyle, Dana, and I all agree that charging for parking during the daytime during a non-event is not something we wanted to pursue. So,
I'm okay with that if that's what they decided.
so I'm just trying to summarize what I'm hearing and then go through this to work through the questions we've heard and try to find something that's going to work for everyone. So are we all on the same page here? Can I just get a nod from you guys if we're on the same page? I got a thumbs up and a nod. Okay, great. So I'm on item 5, section 5 of the resolution where we're talking about marina season pass parking. So if we're not if we're not charging for daily parking, do we still need this? If it doesn't get you in during paid parking anyway, is this something we need? Is this something we want to offer to slip holders and save spots for them so that they know they have a spot all the time? Is that what this is?
The problem there is that we have more slips than parking spots.
Okay. So it seems like item 5 may not be necessary and may cause more problems than what it's worth. It's just sort of one more thing.
As this program has been presented to us, at least for this year, um, as Nathan stated before, all slip holders, their guests, concessionaires, their guests, they would have the ability to have access, whether it be given by us or some other means, to a daily code that would exempt them from paid parking. So that with regard to marina customers and anyone that's interfacing with the marina, that $99 season pass is off the table. That would only be for people that perhaps want to come down and go fishing or ride their bike around the lake or something else,
Everyday user types.
everyday user types.
So if we're not charging for day parking, that becomes obsolete.
Point of order, Mayor. If we're gonna decide these issues one at a time, then we need to discuss each issue one at a time. Everyone gets to talk about it, listen to each other's point of view, and vote on each
Right.
part of this. You cannot sit there and hear your little thoughts and decide that this is null and void and we're not going forward. We're
I'm
gonna
not
vote on
doing
each
that.
one.
I'm not doing that. And no, I'm not. What I'm doing here, each person on this board gets a chance to talk and share their
So
opinion.
if they're not making conclusions, so don't make conclusions for us, please.
I'm trying to summarize, which
No
is my
summary.
job as the
Yes,
chair of this board. So I'm trying to find us something we can agree to. So if you want to take a vote now, I think the vote might be no. If we can get to a place where we say,
On what?
I would still.
if
like to
we,
hear from the park-
okay, and I wish you would share the same respect to me that I'm a part of this board. And just like each of you got a chance to talk, I'd like to share my thoughts. And part of my thoughts are writing down what you guys wrote and trying to summarize that and getting us to consensus. And so if we can all agree, if the majority of the board here agrees that we don't like item 2, we could perhaps approve this resolution,
With amendments.
striking section 2, striking section 5. And I'm trying to prepare the board for a motion that may be passed because staff has put a lot of time into this. And so if you don't mind, my thoughts include the entire resolution.
I do mind that you're making conclusions.
I'm not making conclusions. I'm trying to come to consensus. And
We
and
don't
that
need
is a
consensus.
conclusion.
We want to hear your point of view, please.
This is my point of view. I'm going through what I've heard from the group and I'm trying to come up with something that works for our whole community. Okay. So for 6. That makes sense. 7, 8, 9, those all make sense. Those are all about maintaining this. So for me, what I've heard from the community is that there are some problems with this resolution. To me, the one that is really glaringly obvious that I've heard from a majority of this board and I've heard in the comments from our community is that section 2 and 5 of this resolution, as well as the 3-hour maximum parking in the town core, are not something that is appropriate for our town at this time. I would be in favor of approving this resolution to solidify the solutions we've come up with to prevent people from parking in our lots overnight or storing vehicles overnight for months on end, or from camping in our parking lots. And for having a solution to create a safer parking environment during big shows. So
Point of order.
I would be
Point of
in,
order, Mayor.
go ahead, John.
To consider this, should this ordinance be first before consideration? Should someone be making a motion to approve this and then have it be seconded and have the discussion come after that?
You can discuss the resolution before a motion. If somebody wants to make a motion, they can make a motion.
So I'm, it's,
And the correct way to do this was to make changes, then we would amend the ordinance as presented.
you can make a change before you even make the initial. So you could say, so here's what I'm just trying to set us up for success here, John. I'm trying to make this the least contention as possible. If we don't like the whole thing, we don't have to take the whole thing. So I'm trying to narrow it down to what we really need and what we may not need. And I don't think we should just blanket approve something because this is the way it was written for us to look at. I think we should make a motion to approve a resolution that we feel good about. And what I'm hearing from the board and the community is perhaps that motion might be something along the lines of, I move to approve resolution number 2124, series of 24, amending the resolution to remove section 2, 5, and the 3-hour max in the town core. Something along those lines.
But are we going to allow them to speak too before we make that decision? Because
It's not a public hearing, and so anybody
but I
that
thought they were going-
wanted to speak to it,
But
you'd like to hear from the managed parking.
Right, I wanted to hear what their ideas were, because weren't they, Nathan, weren't they supposed to come and speak to us about what their ideas were?
They're here to hopefully answer questions.
But you wouldn't let them
if
get up and
that's
talk
what
about
you
it.
would like.
So they work for us,
Right,
and
and
their
I would like
job
to-
is to do exactly what we tell them to do. So if all of their ideas that they want to share with us or how to enforce daytime parking, I think that would be a waste of everyone's time here to listen to if 4 people who are voting for this won't approve something with daytime parking.
We don't know that yet. Can I make a motion to approve resolution number 21-24, series of 2024, subject to amendments?
Would you like to state what those amendments are?
I mean, no, I'm just saying to everyone, it's free to, let's put this resolution up to a vote, and then members, as always, are free to make amendments.
If you would like to make a motion, it's a motion to approve it in some manner. So
As written.
as written.
Is there a second?
Well, as written, that includes the 3-hour parking.
You can make amendments.
Well, so the amendments
else
have to, the amendments, just to clarify, the amendments have to be in the motion. So you can make the motion with the amendments, or somebody else can now make another motion, another motion deeper inside that makes those amendments, and we can approve that, and then we have the motion still.
So I'd like to take a vote on, if it's been seconded, and it has.
It has not.
Okay, let me repeat this. I would make a motion to approve resolution number 21-24, series of 2024.
Is there a second to approve resolution number 2124, series of 2024 as written? There's none.
We don't want.
The motion dies for
Motion
lack
dies.
of
So
a
the-
We
second.
want it without the.
So there is no second.
Can I
So,
ask something?
yeah, Kyle, please go ahead.
Do we have room still to talk about whether or not lodgepole is going to be paid during event nights and for how much? Does that go in this or is this not?
No, this is a great time. Thanks for bringing that up, Kyle, because now that I've finished my thoughts and gone through the resolution with my thoughts, everyone has an opportunity to share their thoughts again. So the way we do this outline so everybody can share their thoughts, and then we go around again, and everybody has an opportunity to say, I have not changed any of my thoughts, or, oh, Dana, I liked what you said about this or that. And I agree with that, and I think that would be right for our community. And that gives me a better gauge of where everyone stands so that I can perhaps tee up a resolution that we can pass. So who would like to go around to share their thoughts again? Kyle, did you want to start with your thoughts on lodgepole?
Sure. First of all, I don't believe there should be paid parking on lodgepole during events. If it needs to be paid parking, please lower it from $50. And then again, I think there needs to be some validation process for people who are not able to move their vehicles
due to excessive drinking. And I agree, Carolyn, with you as to how you said, if a $50 fee is, or whatever fee is charged for parking, if someone has been drinking too much and they cannot move it, once a vehicle is paid for to be parked, it should not have to move. It should not be moved again, have to be moved again to a different lot to make it all kosher. And I do not believe there should be any paid parking during the daytime in any lot.
Okay, thanks, Kyle. Since we're already on the computer, Rachel, do you want to go next for any? And feel
Sure.
free to, so for the second round, feel free to repeat points that you think are very important, but keep in mind, everyone, that we've all heard the original points. So try to keep this as new information, or if you think something is so critical, it has to be repeated.
Sure,
ahead,
I'll try to be concise. I think we should not have paid parking during the daytime anywhere. And I like the idea of event parking. I'm not sure what the correct amount is. I don't know if that's $50. I don't know where that amount came up, but just to make sure that it's in line with what's typically charged at an event. But I'm in favor of paid event parking, and I would be in favor of it also on Lodgepole, because I think what I heard is that it allows for better safety in terms of, the event parking, the folks who manage the event parking to manage kind of that whole area and not have cars, circling on Lodgepole looking for a parking spot, but to keep that all as paid parking for events.
Thank you, Rachel. John?
How about if I go last?
Sure.
Okay,
Dana?
I'll go.
Renee?
You can go. I'll go. Okay, so since you did it this way, section 1, overnight parking, keep it the same like we've always had. Section 2, keep that. That's the part, the daily parking. I'm not in favor of that at this point because we don't need it. Section 3, event parking, keep it the same like we did last year, $50, and keep it all the way from the amphitheater, marina, and Lodgepole. And then the marina seasonal parking pass. I mean, I don't know if that's a help or not. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. If that's section 5, but I would think it's going to exclude the folders and all those just for people that want to. So I don't think that would hurt. I don't have an opinion one way or the other about that. I'm not sure whether it's a good idea or not as far as the $99. But I mean, it's per season, right? So if someone wants a pass, would that take it away from a spot from a current marina slip holder though, if somebody else, like the public, got a $99 parking pass?
Well, the issue there is that we don't have enough spots to begin with.
So
So-
good or bad?
Well, it's not ideal,
Okay, so maybe
that
we
way.
delete that one then.
the parking spots, that is, to clarify. It's not ideal that we don't have enough spots in the marina lot for the amount of slips that we have.
Right, so how do we solve that?
Build more parking lots or parking structure.
Okay, in the future, we'll build more parking lots. So would that help though, the seasonal pass? That's why, because I would be for that, I think, if that would control it. Because I think the more control we have, is the better.
If,
Because there's a lot of parking throughout the whole town.
yeah,
People
if,
don't have to park in the marina parking lot.
right. So that would be my answer as well.
Yeah.
Right. So if it
So a seasonal,
functioned to displace people that are not engaging directly with the marina, then essentially it would help.
then I would be for that. I think that's a good idea.
And just to clarify, that is there to exempt those individuals from the daily parking. So if the daily parking is there, then that's where the pass comes in. So then those people don't have to pay for their daily parking experience.
But if we don't have the daily parking, then that's probably not needed. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. You wouldn't need a season pass because there would be no fees.
Okay, so if we're not charging daily parking at this point, then wouldn't need a season pass.
Correct.
Okay. So then that would be, then that's probably to approve it without section 5. And then I'm fine with 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's it.
And the 3-hour max, did you have an opinion on that?
Why, so we don't need daily parking. I already said that from the very beginning.
The 3-hour max.
It's a 3-hour.
Dana or John, did anyone?
Yeah, I'll say something. I talked to a number of Dillon residents and some influential people that I respect a lot. They said, you guys really need to rethink this parking. And I think they're right. You know, the town core is not at the point where we need to be charging people to park there. And the marina non-event times, the same thing I think applies. And I think in this case, we need to listen to our constituents. And, you know, as I said before, overnight parking in the town lots, we want to discourage people from sleeping in their cars, so we want to continue that. And then event parking, I see that as VIP parking if it's marina or amphitheater parking lot or lodgepole, because it's right next to the amphitheater. And I like the $50 fee. I think people will pay that when we come up from Denver and expect VIP parking right now. And you park right next to Ball Amphitheater, you pay $50 too. So, but I would like to include lodgepole as part of that event parking. So they can manage that too.
Madam
Thanks,
Mayor,
Dana.
Kyle has raised his hand on the hybrid.
Kyle,
Just wanted you to
I'll run the meeting, Renee. Thank you. Got it. Kyle, we'll get to you as soon as we talk to John. John?
Okay, so I've thought through this probably more than anyone else, but I would say that I am very Dillon resident centric. I hear people that talk about traffic. I hear people complain about hipsters parking on Lodgepole all the time. I hear about sailors wanting to use the marina and having spots that are available to them, which is mostly shows create the problem. But I'm Dillon centric, and that's why when I came up with this, I said the Dillon people are immune. Let's not charge Dillon people anything. So the benefit to the Dillon people is that you're going to have more spaces. The guy from Denver that wants to come up here, ride his bike around the lake, park on Lodgepole, have lunch in Frisco, hang out wherever, he's parking in the most beautiful street in Colorado in Lodgepole for free. I hear all these people that are talking about visiting Dillon. They like our free stuff. They like our free shows. They insist on free parking. All this free amenities that Dillon is providing to our people, not Summit County, our people. I'm trying to create a managed parking program that makes it better for us, not people from Denver. So if somebody from Denver has a lot of money and he wants to spend $50 for premium upfront parking, let's take their $50, right? And if Nathan thinks, and by the way, I think Nathan should be able to want to give him the authority to micromanage prices. If this show isn't selling and they sell them for $40, if the show is selling and we can get $60, that's what managed parking is. It's a managing supply and demand of scarce parking spots. That's what I want to do. We have the technology that's available now to manage supply and demand and parking. I get that we want to have I want everyone to come to Dillon, visitors in the marina, loving Dillon like we do. We're not going to interfere with a bad vibe. But if people are willing to pay, then we'll take that money and we'll use that money, I think, to provide off-site parking eventually over there at the cemetery lot with shuttle buses. We're going to use the money that we raise in this program to better serve Dillon, make spaces more available for Dillon. People coming up for Denver, If there's an offsite parking sign, offsite parking that brings them over there to winter storage, they're gonna go there. And we'll bring them by bus here. That means the residents will have places to park. That doesn't happen now. So these are the thoughts I'm having. We're trying to think, why would the Dillon people who are gonna be immune to parking fees be opposed to this? The only thing I can think of is that because they haven't gotten the message. So I'm trying to get the message out that this is gonna be for Dillon. If money's not going in my pocket, there's no benefit to me. Benefit is, I think, having adequate parking, controlling scarce parking when parking is scarce. That's my pitch. And I'm willing to allow the town manager to tweak this program as needed. We can give him the authority by ordinance to tweak the program as needed to do the best thing for Dillon and its people as he sees fit. And I'm good with that. I don't need to micromanage the prices, the whens, the wheres. Let staff do it. That's my pitch.
Thanks, John. And thanks for bringing it up. As far as our fee schedule, do we have to put a set fee for parking in, or can we say variable depending on the show? Can it, can our fee schedule published say variable?
Well, as our town attorney Kathleen indicated in section 3, it says a fee up to.
Oh, up to, right. Oh, great.
So
So yes,
that's-
so it is.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
we're there.
Okay, so that's done. So it sounds like, for those who mentioned a concern for a local or lower parking fee, that it's only up to 50. So that we can think of that as the cap. And hopefully that's an answer to that. Subject to the town manager's discretion or the events director's discretion. Other two items I'd like to revisit: the validation question, sort of how do we, what can we do? And they're sort of the same. Having to move your vehicle if you're granted overnight parking when you pay this $50, up to $50, or if you're just somebody in town who's otherwise wasn't planning on staying the night. What can we do? How can we accommodate those types of situations? Or how do we encourage people to say, leave your car? Here's who to reach out to, or here's who you can contact in arrears. Maybe this is a good time to bring interstate parking up, because it's a mechanism for us to say, if somebody was not safe to drive, we'd like to validate those parking tickets.
Madam Mayor, if I can, from a town's perspective, I think we could just include all of the lots in our overnight parking program. That would solve it.
Even along the lake.
Yes.
Okay, that would solve it, wouldn't it? Okay, and then what about validation? So like, if somebody, it's probably a separate program, I guess, but maybe that's worth talking about, some kind of program that says, we don't want you to drink and drive. And if that was the case, we also don't want to hit you with a whatever $100 parking ticket. What is the parking ticket? Do you just get charged what the overnight fee would be?
Hi, I'm Shelby. I'm I'm Interstate. So the beauty of these programs is it's totally customizable. Here in, Summit County, we have Breckenridge. They have these, you might have seen them before. They're these hot pink passes that hang in your windshield if you get too intoxicated to drive. We do look for them, but if something happens and obviously someone says, hey, I was too drunk, we obviously don't encourage drinking and driving. And just our outreach to, however you want that process to be, to us directly, or if for some reason you want it to go to the town first, we can easily void those violations. We can adjust the pricing. We could basically do anything. The system is totally programmable to what you want. So if you say on amphitheater nights, the events, paid events, all overnight parking fees in the amphitheater area, like, the lakefront, are only $20, which would equal the cost of parking, we can do that. Whatever you wish, like seriously, it's so customizable. Any idea that you come up with, we can make happen.
So that sounds good to me. That makes a lot of sense to me, that maybe the sort of validation is something along the lines of, instead of like $100 ticket, if you can't drive and you leave your car, you just get dinged with the same overnight fee that anybody else who thought ahead
Yeah.
would have paid.
We can definitely do something like that.
So section 3, the event parking,
Yeah.
as presented in the resolution, includes parking until 6 a.m. the following day. So I'm confused following the discussion about where the moving the car comes in.
Well, because until Nathan just said that, the overnight parking was not included in the lodgepole marina or amphitheater lot. And so the solution Nathan just offered is that all lots become overnight parking. Right now, we don't allow overnight parking in those
Okay.
3 lots that we are charging for the event parking and saying you get overnight parking included, but you can't park in these lots because we don't allow overnight parking there. So the answer would be allowing overnight parking in
Just on
those
the
lots.
back days.
On those event days only,
Yeah. I think
maybe?
Did we have any problem last time, Nathan? Do you know? Last year when we did it, because we did do it last year, we did do the managed parking, reserved
I'm
parking
not sure that we had any issues.
issues at all. Yeah, because typically people carpool and they.
No, and just to clarify, our bartenders at the amphitheater are highly trained and we don't encourage over serving people. So
Right.
that's not like one of our goals as a town. So
Thank you for the clarification.
I just wanted to be clear there.
Write that down.
Yeah,
we
thanks,
just
Brent.
on show nights, that's really.
Okay, so it is just, so maybe it's just show nights. And so that we'll probably have to come back with something that talks about how that works out. But so I think we're all on the same page on this. My final comment I'd like to make is sort of, John, about what you're talking about. And I heard a lot from when staff made their comments, sort of discourage versus encourage, and a deterrent versus an incentive. And we have had this conversation a lot regarding developers. And we're sort of taking the tact of everything we can do to encourage developers and to have incentives and to remove problems, remove deterrence from coming to Dillon. And yet in this sort of adding these fees on, to me, these are a hurdle or discouraging or deterrence for people visiting Dillon. So in the same way that I want to encourage and remove any roadblocks for developers to come into town, I'd also like to encourage and remove any roadblocks for people coming into town. And to me, adding another roadblock is sort of antithetical to what we're trying to do here. So that's just an observation I came up with reading through this. It seems like it's more of a discouraging move than an encouraging move. So, is there a motion to approve resolution 2024, series of 2024, amended to remove sections 2, 5, 3-hour parking?
Can I say something else? Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, Kyle, I forgot about your hand. Yes, go.
Can we lower the overnight parking rate for locals, for Dillon locals, from $20 to $10 on the weekends?
Yeah.
Just so it's a flat $10 anytime, any night, just to make it somewhat easier or the same.
Right. And like, if they didn't buy like the $100 pass for the whole year. Is that what
Right.
you mean?
Yeah, they're just paying on the nightly, like, I don't remember his name, Josh, maybe. That
Josh, yeah.
friends, family coming in from out of town, staying for a weekend or whatever. Just make it just more affordable, I guess, for local folks that are visiting someone in town that are residents
If
here.
that's, so maybe so interstate, is that something you can do in the same way that we would be setting up sort of the resident parking? If you register, is there a way to put your car in and prove that you're a resident so that you would be subject to a lower cap and not have to pay it when the,
Placard you put on the dashboard
Ye-
with the barcodes.
something like that?
Yeah, we can
residents
do a
can
sort of like application program similar to what we're currently doing. And basically, as long as they prove that they're able to get this thing, we can provide them with a code that would decrease the price of the parking to
So that's
whatever
possible.
price. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Okay.
Yeah, they would have to obviously give us like a little bit of like advanced application, like at least apply, within, before one business day so that we can chance to review it. Like, if you have their family coming in later that night, that would be a little tough timeline wise, but we definitely as long as they apply in advance, we can provide a way to discount that rate throughout an extended period of time. Like if you want to do it for a whole summer season or a whole year or whatever works, honestly.
So almost like we could add in section 4, a part C, where it says residents can also
Maybe
get an
they
overnight
designate a
coach.
guest license plate number for maybe a limited number of days, 20 days or whatever for each guest.
Oh, sure. So a guest pass, maybe a guest pass in section 4, part C would be something that addresses some of the comments we've heard from Kyle and a lot of the community and Dana. So can we add a section 3 in there somewhere? And maybe this is becoming too complicated to do a motion on tonight, and maybe we want to clean it up and then bring it back and talk again. So, Kyle, is that what you're talking about? Like what if we had a guest pass option where you pay a lower fee if you're a resident and you can have a guest placard that you can hand out at will?
That, I would assume that would be fine. I know just from working in other areas around the county that people will try to copy those and have fake ones out there causing issues.
That's why
But
you need a barcode tied to the license.
Yeah, so we'll let Interstate figure out the details of how to do it, but something like that is something you would find acceptable, and would you guys find that acceptable?
Can we elect just, is it allowed to just give him the authority in the ordinance? We all trust Nathan to micromanage this stuff, don't we?
Yeah, let's go ahead and,
I agree, but give him the guest pass. I like that idea. A cheaper guest pass. But let Nathan decide that stuff. He's a reasonable person.
Yeah, that's,
so can we just approve it like you said?
oh,
And then-
I think we could, but it is getting pretty complicated because we're adding a section that doesn't exist. And so it's easy to strike things. And when you add something that doesn't exist, it's just a little more complicated.
Right, and the resolution begins by referencing section 8-45 of the code that provides town council establishes the fee or fees for parking in town-owned lots.
So should we get rid of that?
Well, you would not be able to get rid of the code provision in this resolution.
Yeah.
But you could certainly look at your code provision and see if that reflects really how you want to operate.
And change that to say the town manager would establish the fees.
Yes, certainly could do that.
Is that what you're talking about?
I think that makes it easier, you know? I don't arguing over little points.
Yeah, I mean, to me, these aren't little. This is like big stuff for people, and I think we can get this passed, and I think we can get it on the books, but I think we shouldn't do it tonight as it's written. I think we should direct staff to remove sections 2, 5, the 3-hour max, and add in to section 4 a part about a guest pass for residents. And then I think with that,
Can
we
we
would
just-
probably be able to consider this at the next meeting and get it passed, no problem.
We can just go ahead and do that now with what you just said.
I don't think we can approve it now because I don't think we can write the guest pass section in the ordinance or in the approval of the resolution.
I mean, there's a lot to revise.
Can I
I'm not
make a
comment?
Sure, just 1 minute, Rachel. Kathleen's talking, then we'll go right to you.
Right. I do think that the better approach would be to allow staff to work on this and bring it back, incorporating your suggestions. But it's up to you as council how you
It would be good to know where we stand fairly soon.
Rachel, did you want to go ahead and say your comment now?
All I wanted to say is I agree with you, Carolyn, to bring it back, to clean it up, write it down as we're gonna, with all these, changes that we've made tonight, to make it cleaner, and we do it at our next meeting in a couple weeks. Or 3 weeks, I
You
guess.
guys okay with that? Great.
Is that okay, Nathan?
Yeah, we can make it work.
Okay, so the council is not going to take action on item
Well,
5
since-
tonight. Sorry. Go ahead, Kyle, what? So council's not going to take action on item 5 tonight.
sorry.
But we are. Who's talking? But we,
Kyle is.
but we
Sorry.
are going, we're directing staff
if-
to give it one more shot, removing section 2.5, the 3-hour max in the core, and adding a section to allow residents to get a guest parking permit. And then I think with those changes, I think the comments we've received are acknowledged, and to the best of our ability, we are solving the problems that exist and making an honest step forward in trying to work toward a parking solution for the residents of Dillon.
Madam Mayor, Kyle has raised his hand again.
Kyle, yes.
Sorry. Just something else that's been bothering me forever. And if we're taking the time to rewrite this, is there anything we can do to keep from having cars towed out of Dillon down to Silverthorne? And someone having to pay $300 to get their car back. Could we instead, if someone leaves the car in an area that it had to be towed from, could we just give them a parking ticket of $150 or something, so that they're not having to go through all the towing?
That's the post
Hassle.
office. I mean, the postmaster does that. It's federal property.
Is that what you're talking about? Is it a problem with the post office? I haven't heard of that, but we got towed outside of Pug Ryan's one time, and
I think that's a separate issue because I'm interested in that too. I'm interested in.
Whether it's wherever, yeah, I understand from the post office, that's nothing we have control over, but anywhere else in town, or like on a snow day, if someone parked in a lot that it's not supposed to be in because it's snowing, I mean, I know that might be annoying for Scott's crew to have to plow around it, but it would sure be
Put that
a
on-
lot less of a hassle.
can we put that on a future agenda discussion to talk about sort of towing and ticketing policies throughout town?
Absolutely.
And
With
then we
Scott's
can
input.
probably at that same time talk about what we'd like to see from Interstate as far as if for whatever reason you forgot to pay, that maybe the penalty is just that you got to pay like everyone else and you don't get really penalized. Okay. Okay. Is everyone satisfied with where we've landed on item 5 here? Okay. Yep. Great. Let's move on to item 6. Consideration of resolution number 2224, series of 2024, a resolution approving a consulting agreement with Clark and Anderson Inc. for the 2024 Town Park Plaza design. Scott.
Good evening. So this report and this project is a collaboration between myself, Jesse, and Ned. And so Jesse and Ned, if at any time you guys need to jump in with a comment, feel free to interrupt me. So this is a resolution to enter into a consulting agreement with Clark and Anderson for the Town Park Plaza. A little bit of history. We began the Town Park project in 2013. That was the master plan project that we started. And I think we realized early on that that master plan project involved 3 phases. And so phase 1 was the play area and sports field, which we've obviously completed. Phase 2 was the pavilion facility, which is actually in the budget this year to have some conceptual design done. So I'm getting ready to put that out to bid. Phase 3 was the Town Park Plaza, which we've already talk to you guys about. The in that discussion with you guys, you expressed the desire to get the town park done. You wanted to get the town park plaza design and the construction completed as soon as possible. You added some additional budget for us. I think we delayed the alley project that Clark Anderson was working on so that we had some additional funds to complete the plaza. We met as staff and worked on developing a scope for the project. So there's were certainly a lot of ideas that and considerations that Jesse wanted to review regarding how would that function, how could it be used for the farmer's market when there's not a farmer's market, what activities will be held there, so on and so forth. So we developed a scope. We also recognized that Clark and Anderson did a lot of work on the walkability program and plan, which council also approved. And you'll recall that in Clark and Anderson's walkability discussion, they also identified the plaza area. And they even recommended some design features that would be used in common with other areas like the alley and places around town. And so we decided that since Clark and Anderson had already done some work on that, and you guys had already approved that planning, that we would talk to Clark and Anderson and see if we could come to some sort of a combination of the scope that we were looking at and the work that they had already done for you guys that you had approved. So we met with them, we had a discussion, we involved a lot of people from Jesse's department, from my department, talked to them about what we were looking for, our schedule. And so they gave us a proposal, which is included in this resolution for approval. They also gave us a schedule, and so I want to review that just really quickly. We would like for them to start right away. This year, what we would like to complete are the utilities. So that's going to include water and sewer and electrical and some other items that we need to get in the ground before we start doing surfacing. The design portion for the ultimate completion of the area would continue. But that construction, the hard surfacing, the concrete, the benches, this, those types of features, those would be put in the spring of 2025. So we're really kind of looking at a fall, spring project. It's the only way, given the timetable, it's the only way that that we thought we could make this work. And so staff does recommend approval. The project proposal from Clark and Anderson is for $122,047.50. And we would, I would be happy to answer any questions, or of course, Jesse and also Ned.
Is that a fair number?
We think so. We believe so. Ned actually met with them and did some negotiation. Ned, I don't know whether you want to talk about any of that, but we feel that it's a fair number. We also think it's important that we worked with a contractor that this council felt comfortable with and had actually approved the walkability plan.
Yeah, I can comment a little bit. I did work with them on the price and whittled it down a fair bit. I want to make sure the council recognizes that part of the scope is to actually design a bathroom building. We're actually considering a stick-built structure with 4 stalls and not one of those prefab concrete structures like we have elsewhere. So that is part of this scope, and the advantage of working with Clark and Anderson is they have all of these fields in-house. They have architecture, landscape design, civil engineers, and all of that. And so based on our previous experience with them, we felt like it was a really good fit, and also do feel that the proposal is competitive.
So my initial reaction to the cost is that's a lot more than what we were talking to those restaurant designers about. And it's just a bathroom building is the only like, in otherwise landscape design kind of stuff?
So the restaurant proposals are for conceptual only.
Right.
This is for,
Actual
this is for conceptual review with council, review with citizens on what the plaza will look like. And then actually doing the design and engineering and construction documents so that we can build it.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, okay. Got it. Great. Thoughts, comments? Anyone?
Sounds good to me.
The plaza being where?
South of the tennis courts on the corner of East Levante and Buffalo.
Okay. Thanks.
Rachel, Kyle, any other thoughts here? Okay. Any thoughts at all? Is this a generally thumbs up or generally thumbs down or? Yes, okay.
Just throw some color. So what are we expecting to see? Is there gonna be a bench out there? I know there's a bathroom there. What else is gonna be there?
So there's going to be a bathroom, there's going to be we're looking at a stage. We're looking at areas for people to sit when it's not being used for the farmer's market. We're looking at sunshades, different architectural features. You may or may not recall from Clark and Anderson's proposal that they had some more public art type pieces that they showed in their documents to you guys. I know it's been a while, and so it's hard to remember those things. But there were design elements that they came up with that they wanted to kind of use throughout the core area as part of the walkability program.
That'd be right at the corner of Levante and Buffalo.
It would, yeah. You may recall that there was one feature, which I'm not proposing we do. It looked like a giant yellow gummy bear. Do you guys remember that? So
They said they just put that in because somebody else had done it or something.
I think they did, yeah. But we thought it was important to whatever thematic elements they came up with to also have. So public art would be a piece of this.
I think it was a smart idea to use Clark and Anderson, who we were so excited about for the alley project and sort of keep them engaged or and sort of keep consistency in a project that really is meant to encompass the whole core. So
Right.
I think this is great.
And something I didn't mention, you'll recall that they they spent a lot of time looking at how everything was connected. So besides the plaza itself, how does it connect to the park and how does it connect to the town center? And that was kind of a key corner that they identified.
I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2224, series of 2024. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further-
Councilmember Hendricks?
Yes.
Fine.
Yes.
Christensen?
Yes.
Woods?
Yes.
And Mora? Yes. Madam Square?
Yes. Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Up next, we have review of the future council agendas. I think the only thing we added in our discussion tonight was talking about our towing and ticketing policies. Was there anything else I missed on that? Or did anybody have anything else they wanted to add?
Yeah, I would like to bring back what Nick Cotton Vyaz did for the council code of conduct. I've talked to some other members and I'd like to bring that back and add some additional things.
I'd like to talk about a program where we mandate workforce housing into any new development projects, and maybe there's some sort of ratio or something we can come up with to give developers a clear idea of what we're looking for in town. And maybe it doesn't even have to be that specific, but some sort of program like that for new development. And it doesn't have to be soon. It can be anytime.
Just to clarify, would this just be for commercial or residential and commercial?
I don't know, both, I think we should just have a conversation about what it could look like and then narrow it down from there. Anything else for the future council agendas?
Are you gonna schedule a retreat or is that gonna come up later?
We were talking about doing a retreat once we've appointed a seventh member to the council.
We do tentatively have that on the June 11th meeting, but I probably won't. Trying to bring the facilitator that we had the last time we did a retreat, since he has history with us, to bring him back, since we did have a strategic planning document. Taking that strategic planning document and fine tuning that.
Great.
If you all are receptive to that.
Yep. Great. Kyle and Rachel, any future council agenda items?
None from me at this time.
No, for what you brought up though, about putting housing into workforce housing into projects, I think we need to do that sooner rather than later.
Track that one if you can. Anything else? Town managers update, Nathan?
A couple quick things outside of the written report. We did get our March sales tax numbers. They are dismal at best, down approximately 6.68% or $68,000 compared to last year's March numbers. Year to date, we're down approximately 69,000, so a majority of that came from March, or 2.4%. We are looking at ways to try to increase some revenue, and we are auditing our collections as we speak. Positive note, we are staffing up very well for this upcoming season. Marina staff is fully filled. Amphitheater and our events and recreation crew is getting close to being full. On May 17th, we're going to have our seasonal orientation with a barbecue here at Town Hall / Town Park. Hopefully it's not snowing. The Marina opens on May 25th, and then we're going to do our amphitheater orientation on June 5th. So things are starting to come into full tilt here. So we're pretty excited. We're pretty excited about having a lot of returning seasonals too. So it's a good note. That's all I have.
Great. Great work, everyone. Mayor's update. We were at mayor's managers last week. And there are a couple bills coming up that we may want to consider submitting a letter of opposition to in the state Senate. Specifically, there's one that I don't get the impression would affect us, 213. Is that right? It's more for counties. It's
Correct.
for counties, but if there was support here on the board, basically the Summit County is opposed to it. All the other towns have written a letter opposing it, and if we wanted to chime in, that would probably be our position too. It's about taxing second homeowners, something along those lines. Is that right? 213?
I'm not sure.
Honestly, as soon as they were like, it's only county, I kind of checked out, but let me, here, I'll pull it up.
I can speak to 213.
Oh, great. Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Ned.
Yeah, it got pulled by the sponsor, so it died.
Okay, forget about 213. Enough people wrote letters already. Was there one other one that we were talking about?
Quite a number, but today's the last day of the legislative session.
Perfect. So too late anyway. Okay, that was the only update I had. Otherwise, sort of the continued conversations at mayor's managers, our school district, housing teachers. School district is putting forward their bond question, so they did ask that we sort of encourage everyone to reply to their survey that they have out there. Although, did Tony send a link to it at all?
I have not received it.
Allegedly out
Maybe
there.
Summit Daily has it. that
Yeah,
they-
there's-
They could send it to us.
What's that? Okay, so if you come across it, fill out that, they're looking for input from the towns and
I got
in the
a text
community.
with the survey.
You did? Okay, great. If you could pass that along to us, they're trying to get it out to people, and I just thought I'd spread the word. So seek it out if that's important to you. Council member comments?
I don't know if this fits here, but in light of what Nathan said, sales tax is down $80,000. You know, that's a big deal. So I'm appealing to Summit Daily, done this before, that people in our town do not realize that their property taxes do not go to Dillon. I'm talking to you people out there. If your house is assessed at $1 million, you know how much property tax goes to Dillon? $200. $200. If your house is worth $500,000, assessed at $500,000, your grand property total payment that the town of Dillon gets is $100. People think that their property taxes are for services from the town of Dillon, and it's not. Your taxes are going to Summit County. Your taxes are going to Summit Fire and Rescue. Your taxes are going to Summit Schools. Dillon gets none of it. We rely on business. That's why he reports the sales tax every meeting, because if our sales tax numbers goes down, that's really a budget crisis for us. And that's the reason that some of us want more business in town, because that's what we live on. You should tell your friends. If you didn't know that, then you have to tell your friends. Property taxes are not going to Dillon.
I'd like to add to that, actually, that's, since we have an audience here. You know, we've lost a couple of big businesses in the Dillon area. Bed Bath & Beyond went away about 1.5 years ago, 2 years. A Cafe just recently left us. So we have a shrinking tax base right now. And, you know, if we chase up all the developers that want to, help us increase that tax base, we're gonna be in bad shape pretty soon. So it's like shark, if he doesn't swim, he dies. Towns don't evolve and grow. Same thing happens.
I have one other comment I'd like to share just about this hybrid system. I think it's convenient, and I'm glad we were able to do this tonight and have Kyle and Rachel participate. And I think it overall worked out, but I think it's sort of distracting and a little bit difficult to have this. So I wonder if there's either a different way we could do this, or a more streamlined way, or maybe we just try to reserve this, like for tonight, where it is a special meeting and it really is sort of an emergency situation to get people involved rather than sort of a regular practice. Because I think if there were, if there were any other council members on this, this would be very difficult to pay attention and make sure I'm hitting everyone as they have thoughts come up.
Are you talking about the hybrid system in its entirety with like the public too, or still having that option?
No, I like that the public has the option to tune in, but I think referring to, looking at the TV, and when I'm doing this, I know to them, it looks like I'm looking sideways at a wall. And it's just, they're not called out as anybody in particular out of this group of people. So if there's a way we could say, these are, like, remember on Zoom, there were presenters and then there were audience. So if there's a way that they could have some sort of different classification on here. So they're not just sitting in the audience here, but they're, on the screen where everyone can see them and knows where to look and says, oh, that is Kyle talking, that is Rachel talking. But my greater point was that I hope we can reserve this hybrid system for really sort of urgencies rather than becoming a regular practice. That's all. Any other council member comments? Up next, I move to go into executive session pursuant to sections 343 of the Dillon Home Rule Charter and CRS 24-6402-4B for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions concerning the use of the Dillon Amphitheater. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
I wanted to ask my kids, when they were little, I used to visit them. Jim would just, you just go, where do you want to sit? There, and they would tell them, we would drive down there, you can't park, you can't. So hop out, walk down there a couple miles, I'll be going around. giving- Just a real page. See,
I couldn't hear anything from whoever's talking in the chambers.
I know.
Rachel and Kyle, we're gonna go into the executive session.
No
link.
decisions are made in executive session.
Okay, so we'll still be participating even though we're online. Okay, we'll get a different link.
Ever make a decision. So
Yeah, you guys
we
need to
will
this
come out of the
meeting,
executive
go
session and then
another
at the next meeting, we'll have a work session or some sort of conversation and then have a.
Oh, wait,
decision.
you didn't send them the link.
Yeah.
So will we get the link in an email?
Tell you. If we had to put it on the off and then.
And I'm just gonna step away for a minute.
That's fine, Rachel. That's
Okay.
fine.
Thank you.